Welcome to Loleventvods. Watch the full game of today's LEC 2025 matchup.
Ban going to come through from the side of Heretics. We've been hearing a lot about how on-hit AD carries seem to be the name of the game. Corki as well with its flexibility, but a lot of flex picks. Jace and Skarner kind of being the king of the jungle right now.
Two teams facing up on the Rift. Heretics on the blue side, Rogue on the red. A few changes across the board.
Some things stay the same.
Yeah, Skarner are still really strong, guys. They're still really powerful. Larsen's Azir banned away as well, alongside that Callisto, as you say, by Heretics. I wonder if we'll see something like an Ashe getting removed, Viego, the other jungler, that really rises to the fore.
Right now, we are seeing the Aurora taken away. Another powerful flex pick. Flex picks throughout history have been very effective in professional play. The ambiguity that they create in the draft is something that many teams don't want to have to deal with. Right now, some time is being taken from the side of Rogue, and there will be the Corki taken off the board. So will it be that Jace first pick coming out from Heretics that we've been hearing so much about?
It's possible. It can look, of course, towards something like the Ashe as well, although as an AD carry doesn't have that much damage, can still give you a lot of vision across the map. It looks like it is going to be Victor locked in. Varus, the immediate response by Rogue, so we're still sitting in those S-tier picks. The question is, what will Rogue look for their second? Will it be an aggressive jungler? Obviously, when Malrang won with Rogue back in 2022 summer, he was known for things like his Jarvan, anything that could gank in the early game. Here, Maokai locked in is still a flex. In fact, a three-way flex. We've seen it top, we've seen it support, and we've seen it in the jungle.
Cheeky hover there coming out from Cho. We know Adam, well known for his Olaf up in the top lane. Still, though, a lot of power picks available. The Ashe is an option. You did mention it earlier. I wonder if that's something that they will consider as an answer into the Varus. Also, looking at potential, well, I mean, it's something that Shox did talk about. We get excited for the new patch, pro play, we set up all these expectations, and then we get into game, and it's very stock standard. Sejuani going to come through, very likely going to be put in the jungle position already, building towards that team fight. And also, Medic, this is looking like a potential lane swap coming out from Team Heretics. The Akali hover coming out from Larsen. We'll see what he decides to lock in. A mage player is what he's historically been known for. Things like the Orianna, but it does feel like that Victor as a mage, so much pressure in the lane, especially once he gets that upgraded laser, strong team fighting power later on. I wonder if they will try to match it with another mage. Hwei would make a lot of sense, but Orianna also fits that category.
Yeah, Orianna just has such team fight control later on in the game, and it's something Larsen is very comfortable on, that sort of utility mage that can output a lot of damage. We didn't mention it earlier, but the Victor can be flexed down towards the bottom lane. Jack Spectra talked about it earlier on. He thinks mages aren't being played enough there, but when it's the first match of the season, often you do revert to something you're comfortable on, and that's not likely to be Flakked on Victor.
Well, Flakked was the Seraphine player. We've also seen him play Yasuo. Flakked has always been a very creative player. He did start his LEC journey on G2, of course, one of the teams famous for their various picks across the board. As we jump into the second half, though, Ashe going to be taken away. Makes a lot of sense from the side of Rogue. Looking at other potential AD carries, they could remove something like the Jinx, especially if they're concerned about a potential lane swap. And then you're really getting much deeper into the AD carry pool. We'll see what direction they decide to go, as Renata can be taken away on the side of Heretics, a very powerful bot lane. No, but it will be Ezreal taken away from Flakked instead. So there's the option for the Jinx, of course. Relatively low mobility AD carry in the sense that she doesn't have those dashes. She does need a lot of protection. And that's assuming, of course, that they do decide to lock in an AD carry. And the bottom, this Victor isn't flexed into that AD role.
And we'll see if they decide to do that and look towards those lane swaps. They would be lacking a little bit of physical damage if they don't have an AD threat somewhere on their team currently, with Cassante in the top lane, Victor playing bot lane. You need AD mid for that to round out. And Bessa, a champion that we haven't seen played in the LEC, is an option. Adam, oh, he's just going to lock it in. Okay, it's Gavin into Cassante top lane. Adam putting down the gauntlet early on here in LEC Winter.
Of course, many should remember Adam for his Garen appearances, most notably at the World Championship. 23. Yep. And he made waves, especially through play-ins on champions like this. He's looking to bring it out today, bring a new flair to Rogue, and I think that's the exciting thing about these Rogue roster changes. Last year, we really didn't see much from Rogue at all, and we're expecting that with Malrang, with Adam, high playmaking players, that action is going to be happening on the Rift, as the bot lane now locked in for Heretics.
that Zeri locked in for Flakked, one of his most played across the course of his career. Something he's comfortable on, has a little bit more mobility than perhaps an MF or even a Caitlyn, can just dodge around those fights. The Rel as well, there's so much AoE for Heretics. If that Victor lands on top of a crash down from the Rel, a Magnet Storm, you have so much power in getting those empowerments on the Victor ult whenever he gets a takedown. Alistair, the final lock from Rogue. It's a common matchup into the Rel. You can stop her engage because you can knock her out of it, or you can just pulverize her when she does get into the middle of it all, and you're relatively, well, you're very tanky by yourself as well.
Wow. So we've got two pretty stock standard teamfight comps. One of the biggest variables that we're going to see is how much of an impact this Garen can have in the game. I remember Kalista was something Adam would often pick this into, and he made it impossible for the AD carry to play. His aggression, we've even seen him run Ignite in the past. We'll see what he decides. It looks like that he is going to go for the teleport. But yeah, a relatively safe, stock standard team fighting is what we're expecting. But with so many more objectives on the map, I'm hoping that we get to see a lot more team fights today.
Hopefully the team fights are earlier, Vedius. That's what I want, especially from Rogue last year. Things were slower. Heretics tended to be a bit faster in the early game, but then everything collapsed around them when they did develop those leads. So we'll see if these two teams have been able to work on their foibles over the last 6 months or so, almost. For a team like Rogue who didn't make it to the season finals. Obviously, Heretics joined them in not making it there. But the big change, Vedius, the big difference from this year to last has to be the feats of strength. And we'll talk about them in just a second because I was looking at the wrong screen. So I didn't realize that advert for Kia was coming up. And now perhaps we'll bring up the feats of strength.
Which we realize that there's a lot of people that don't play the game, but still watch the game. This is one of the newest iterations that you have in the early game. And basically, the first team to achieve 2 of these 3 objectives unlocks Triumphant boot upgrades and Tier 3 boot upgrades. Tier 3 boots are something that you buy later on into the game.
It's LEC, baby! Yeah!
About who has prior, but grubs are very important right now.
Yeah. Importantly, they did take some of the extra gold value that was assigned to those feats off as a trade for getting the Triumphant boots. So don't quite get as much gold for First Blood, don't quite get as much gold for First Tower as you used to. But if you can get 2 of the 3 neutrals, a First Tower or First Blood, you do get those Triumphant boots upgrades, and then alongside that you can go to the Tier 3 boots, whose names we will make up whenever they come up, because learning the fact that they are called Armored Advance instead of just super cool Ninja Tabis. I think they could have actually named them Ninja Tabis, you know? Like the upgraded plate of Steel Caps could have been Ninja Tabis. Could have been good.
Now, we are getting standard lanes, which is nice to see. I was very much expecting a lane swap for those that have been following. Well, I guess if you watch Cadril stream at all, which I feel like a lot of you do, you'll see in scrims, and they love the lane swap a lot, which is also true for a lot of the pro players happening around the world right now. But stock standard for the time being, Flakked and Stend with the priority right now. Stend, one of the newest additions to the league, a rookie. Competed in the EU Masters final. Strong support, engaged player typically, so him on Ren getting a bit of comfort for Rel, sorry, getting a bit of comfort for his first game of the split. As Larson and Camilo trading a lot in mid lane. Mages are what you're going to be seeing a lot in mid lane in the current meta, primarily for that wave clear and control, especially as you get good scaling into these team fights, which we kind of do expect to happen a lot with Atakan, the new 20-minute neutral objective being spawning, and just dragons and grubs being so important.
Looks like Execute and Patrick will try and hold this wave here. A couple of those minions are going to be held outside of that tower's range, so they have a tiny bit of a freeze, but will slowly start to push back out. Execute trying to save his minion, his ward there, and does manage to put another one down in its place. So even though it died, there's a nice little epitaph there to commemorate its death. Larson using the new TP, Betty.
And I believe we also have graph for that.
That we do. We'll tell producers that we want that to come up.
Yeah. So the teleport changes, for those that have played the game, you will have felt it. The TP changes are very significant in how much slower they are in the early game. It definitely takes much longer to have impact. When they become unleashed at about 10 minutes, they are much faster in terms of their travel speed, but as you can see at the bottom, untargetable and unstoppable dash now rather than a blink, I guess. The total travel duration can be up to 8 seconds long. At 10 minutes become unleashed and travel speed increases significantly. One of the valuable things though is that you don't just have to TP to towers in the early game. You just saw Larson TP to a minion there. The downside of doing that is the enemy can very clearly see you doing it.
It's very obvious when you're going to arrive. and the algorithm has changed a little bit, so when you get the Unleashed teleport, you actually move a lot quicker because of it tracks the distance you're going and then multiplies and divides and does all of these things. So Unleashed teleport is a lot faster than that very slow meandering crawl that Larssen just had to make back to the lane. He did get himself a tier though, wants to stack that up as quickly as possible, forcing Camilo a little bit low in mid lane, down to about 300 HP.
Yeah, he sidesteps the E and is able to, as Camilo goes for a minion, it's a really effective trade on him. Malrang now hovering around mid. The whole objective here is to deny farm. You'll see that cannon minion about to be taken down. He's not going to be able to secure it, so a small advantage gain for Larssen in the isolated 1v1. You can see the gold difference, probably not amounting to a huge amount though at the bottom of your screen, as across the board things are relatively even for both sides. Nothing crazy happened, but our first objective of the game is going to be spawning. 5 minutes in, Dragon now on the Rift. And this is very much about who has that priority. Right now it's Larssen with the push in the mid lane. Adam doing a bit of proxying, getting some information in the enemy jungle. Looks like he can be annoying for Sheo here.
Adam chasing out his former jungler. All those years of missed ganks, just doesn't want to let him get this Gromp. Sheo does have the smite, but it's only 600 HP right now. Judgment out from Adam reduces the CC a little bit, but Carlson going all out as Adam has to flash away. No ghost on him on this Garen. Sheo falling low. Oh, the Demacian Justice not quite enough to kill off Sheo, and now Adam is left with no place to go. First blood to Carlson on Heretics.
Nice try there from Adam. So close to securing that kill. A single auto, an extra spin would have been enough to help secure that kill, but it ends up being punished by Carlson. First blood over to Heretics. This will, of course, mean that the Dragon will go in favor of Rogue, knowing that the jungler is on the top side and forced to base.
But in terms of feats, that's a worthwhile trade for Heretics, because you get 1 full feat, and Rogue only get 1/3 of a foot. Just like the little toe.
Yes, that is crucial. You need 3 of the epic monster objectives.
You need a whole foot
You do.
to make that feat.
Yes, you do, Medic.
One of my favorite puns I've been using in my games over the off-season, while we see Grubs being taken by Sheo, that will be his first third of that foot.
Right.
Is if you take a dragon to get the final neutral, and it gives you feats of strength, you're getting a dragon soul.
Because the soul of a shoe.
Yeah.
The soul, right.
Thanks for explaining the joke. That makes it so much better for the audience.
Yeah. I mean, that's the level of comedy that I thought that it was at. So I see that you're starting the strong. Lovely and strong. Wonderful. Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on swiftly. Let's have a look at how things are going across the rest of the map, because as we kind of expected, trading of objectives goes for Dragon is very much what we're used to seeing at the pro level. In terms of the bot lane, they do have a bit of push. Stend has already gone back to base. He may be looking for a roam up towards mid, but again, no real objective, so it's very much about maybe a potential punish there, an opportunity to make a play. Execute wants to help Patrick get this push into bot lane. Flacker, though, needs to be careful.
Just jump across the wall for now. Can skateboard his way to safety. Larssen still harassing Camilo in the mid lane as he does eat the shockwave. Chucks his ultimate back in response as Larssen is, half HP, but he'll take that beneficial side of the trade.
It's a level advantage for now. Also with the health advantage, he has pressure with his jungler hovering around mid, but there's also support coming in from Sheo. They need to help escort this wave underneath the tower so that Camilo can get a nice base, and Sheo doing the right thing. He has the threat of his ultimate available, so Larssen has to respect it. He doesn't want to needlessly throw his flash away, but he just might have to. He sidesteps it.
Fancy feat from Larssen to sidestep. It doesn't have to burn the flash in the end.
Dangerous play. Dancing on the edge there. I really thought that he'd be forced to commit that summoner spell, but that's exactly what I was talking about. Sheo wanted to try and get that summoner spell out from him, meaning he wouldn't have it available for the next Scrubs or Dragonflight. He's going to be able to keep it. He's going to stick around. He has the TP available. He doesn't want to lose all the golden experience from this wave. He's going to lose a little bit of farm, but ultimately he'll be fine as Camilo now looks for a base.
Camilo's just going to go back, but as you say, both of them have those TPs back available. Carlson currently having a whale of a time in the top lane. Got those plated steel caps nice and early into this Garen with the first blood as well. He's got about a 600 gold lead for himself. Cassante still very much a blindable top laner, still very much on the menu when you look for something to pick in a draft like this. Gives you a lot of safety, also very powerful, and even though they changed some of the ways his dashes work, he can still do a lot of work in a team fight.
I will say that for the rookies on the side of Heretics, this is a very comfortable game to be in.
Nice start.
This is exactly how you want to start things off, with nerves, pressure, the stage, a lot of things factoring into what ultimately amounts into a very stressful situation, to be able to take your time, think about each play. things going very well. You've got to remember that, in contrast, a lot of veterans on the side of Rogue. You've got a number of finalists. You've got LEC champions on that roster. You've got returning players. Execute, for those that don't know, Jonghyun formerly played for Astralis, had a bit of a stint over in the LCK. With mixed success, I would say. Flackett now has to play safe as the ultimate going to go wide. Patrick expecting the sidestep. Flackett held his nerve and kept walking in a straight line.
It's all about the mind games at that point. Stend is looking towards mid. Larssen does still have that flash. Sheo coming in from the top side as well. Doesn't have the Glacial Prism, but Larssen has to flash out early, avoiding the Shadowing Strike. That would have stunned him up, and the immediate CC follow-up would have come out from Heretics. Carlson and Adam, Carlson, and Adam just trading in the top lane. Not really too much to talk about, apart from the lead that has been developed for Carlson. As you say, a rookie, only 19 years old, coming up from Lost Heretics last year.
Execute does have the level advantage here, but I don't expect there to be too much, just mainly protecting his ward, and he should be able to get it back. The mid wave's in an awkward spot. Camilo can't really trade back without losing a few waves.
What are we fighting for, Betty? Grubs and Drake are 15 seconds apart from each other. Do you just trade? Do you just say, Rogue, take Grubs. 2 Drakes?
I think Grubs is going to be the contest here. Patrick has made his way out from the bot lane up towards mid. The whole reason why you bring your AD carry here is to get control of the mid wave, which then gives you access to the river. They're not actually putting Patrick in the mid lane, though. He's pathing back towards bot. Looks like he wants to try and get the wave, so maybe you are right. Maybe they are just going to make the trade happen, as it's Sheo who's first on the Grubs. They've swapped Flackett up to top. He's going to be able, well, I say he's going to be able to push in. You're up against a Garen.
He can catch the wave, yes. I think Adam will just try and force him away. Flackett looking for the damage here, but Adam does still have the flash, more just to chunk him out and make sure that passive takes a while to regenerate Adam's health. Because he has Stend and Sheo on the top side of the map as well, Flackett knows that he'll have a numbers advantage with Rogue going for that Drake. There will be 2 neutrals exchanged in the early game between these 2 teams.
I am a little surprised. I would think that with a Varus, you'd have a little bit more power in the early game, especially with the Garen as well, but Rogue saying we really don't want to fight for this objective, so they will just make the trade happen. I think this is completely fine. Right now, both teams are 2-2 in feats of strength. The next objective, which is going to be the Herald, is going to be very important, because if it's secured by Heretics, well, then they get the upgraded boots.
There's also a strong argument that 6 Grubs and already having First Blood might just accelerate you to First Tower before we even get towards the Herald, right? Is still a little while away before that one spawns in. It's been pushed back because of these earlier feats of strength. You know, it's not the 14-minute mark that it used to be. Now comes up at 16 minutes. And we actually have a whole pushing back of all the objectives, really, because you have the Rift Herald at 16, and then at 20 you have Atakan, and then at 25 you have the Baron. So everything a little bit more delayed in terms of what we're used to in terms of
I will say, this experience is very different from my solo queue games, where like...
No one's flamed Adam for giving up First Blood. That's probably the difference, isn't it?
Well, also, like, feats of strength, they're long gone.
It's true.
Towers are falling, everything's falling apart, and I think we're getting a voracious Atakan.
Yeah, I get that sensation.
So for those that don't know, Atakan has 2 forms, which is determined by the level of bloodiness in the game. Ruinous is the one that most solo queue players are familiar with, because I don't think anyone's ever seen a low-kill solo queue game in their life. Whereas in the pro play, a lot of games are like this. It's a lot about trading objectives. It's a lot about wave control, playing for plates, and just basically playing it relatively safe, which means that with the low bloodiness, Voracious Atakan ends up being the main objective.
Well, while we have a minute, why don't we elucidate on the differences between those 2 forms of Atakan? Execute should be able to walk out here. Ruinous, the first one that we'll talk about, happens when there is a lot more action, a lot more bloodshed in the game. The buff you get from it is a 25% bonus to all epic monster buffs. This applies to Drakes, it applies to Baron buffs, it applies to Grub buffs, it applies to basically all of those epic monster buffs. And then alongside that, bloody petals will spawn out of Atakan's corpse, and you can collect those, and we'll hit on what bloody petals are at the end. I should have probably talked about them at the start, but Betty was talking about Atakan, and now we'll move into Voracious Atakan, which is the one we're much more likely to see here in the LEC.
And basically it gives you a GA, a temporary one, lasts for 150 seconds. The crucial thing is, if you get killed while having the GA, you only concede 100 gold, and you immediately respawn.
Yeah.
So you'll see a lot of teams use that to push a tower, dive towers, force another objective, and basically force the enemy team to expend resources without really needing to expend any yourself.
And bloody petals are these roses that spawn around the map where there have been areas of high action or high damage. A single blood petal will give you scaling experience based on your team's KDA, and also adaptive force that reduces slightly per petal depending on how many petals you have. If all of this was too much information and you're typing noted in the chat and wondering if it will be on the test, I promise you it all makes sense. We'll keep explaining it as we go through.
But it will also be on the test.
It will be on the test.
So you keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Crucially, we're setting up for the Herald spawning in about a minute and a half. You can see the timer on the top left hand of your screen. Dragon also a little bit after. Cloud Soul is the one that's going to be on the Rift. The movement speed as a stat, I guess I should say, is very powerful in the current. I mean, it's always been powerful, but with the upgraded boots, like there's just movement speed with Cloud Souls, like it can get crazy.
It really can.
It really, really can. So we're going to have to keep track of that as the game continues. We're setting up for what we're expecting to be big team fights. Both sides are very much building towards 5v5 team compositions, scaling mages, strong front lines, scaling AD carries. You can see Patrick going for the on-hit Varus rather than the lethality, which I think makes a lot more sense in this game state where both teams are kind of avoiding violence and really you don't have that additional damage threat. Outside of maybe the Garen, we'll see if he can actually get on top of the Blanket in the engages.
I was wondering where Articon was going to spawn this game, and then I realized there's only been one kill. So Articon always spawns on the side of the map where there has been more action, and as you can see, there's a spawning pit up towards the top side. Adam here trading once again with Carlson. Just going to try and spin his way away, but Carlson very much on the winning side of this trade. Iceborne Gauntlet complete for him, alongside that Grasp, healing him up a ton. Adam having just to back off, has got that Stride Breaker in the Swifties, so will regenerate with his passive and then can walk back in, execute looking for something, but in the end he's going to have to make do with just clearing out that wall.
Right now, a lot of investment being set up on the bot side of the map. Looks like Dragon's going to be the primary objective. Herald kind of being left open. Larson gone back to base. Hasn't been able to get an additional upgrade. Very close to completing the Seraph's Embrace though.
Blackfire Torch complete for Camillu. He's going to do a lot of damage with his ultimate in this next fight if he has the time. And he's already got enough CC that he can just lay it on top of the initial dive in by Sten. Misses the Shattering Strike. Adam looking for the flank down towards the bottom side. Has just TP back in. The Drake at 8,000. Patrick trying to poke Adam. Immediately collapsed on Nature's Grass coming out, but Camillo is the one who's caught. Gets rooted up for a second, has to be cleansed away, and now Adam is all on his lonesome. He flashes away. Rogue trying to restart the Dragon. Is down to 2,000, and it is secured by Rogue. Sten knocked back with the Blast Cone, and in the end, Heretics can't find a full engage.
Marang's ultimate provided a lot of control in the team fight. Heretics, right idea, unfortunately collapsing onto a Garen is no easy thing to do. Adam expends the flash, he has a lot of resistances, he's able to buy time for his team to focus down the Dragon. Camillu did get some very good damage down in the fight, but he was also forced to flash away at the threat of Marang and execute trying to shut him down. No kills end up dropping, but that will be another objective going down.
That it will, and now the Rift Herald and Articon will be up around the same time. You can try and, do one of these into the next, get that sort of snowballing potential out. The next big objective for both teams, though, will be first tower. Get to that first feat of strength. And although, obviously, with one of the big changes this season being these feats of strength, we're going to talk about them a lot. You don't automatically lose the game if you don't get the fancy boots. If you don't have Yeezys, it doesn't mean that you're just going to lose. But Adam already chunking his way through this tower. The wave almost cleared away. The backdoor bonus. Adam, another auto's going to be enough. Rogue get the feat of strength. And Adam will have those Swifties upgraded in a moment. I was surprised. I didn't think Adam would get through that as quickly as he did.
Yeah, had to demolish to help him out. And unfortunately for Camillu, he just didn't have enough, I guess, threat onto Adam that he really had to be afraid of, and he's able to secure that objective. So the Triumphant Boots are what you're going to see now, the small upgrades that will just be applied, and then the ability to upgrade those boots later on into the game if they want to for a small feat. Well, I say small feat, 750 gold isn't exactly small. And I think there's a bit of debate right now about how worth it is upgrading them early versus later. I'm very much in the camp that I think it's not worth doing it early. However, I know that especially if you're going for the Swifty boots, the additional movement speed is something that a lot of teams
flat movement
really value.
Nice.
So sometimes players will definitely look to try and upgrade those. And you can already see Swifties for Adam, Swifties for Patrick, and we may even see Swifties come out for Larson in the near future. But Swifties in general, pretty good. Also, it looks like early Void Staff for Larson, which I also love to see when it's a front-to-back style of team fight, and you can already see heavy magic-resistant investment on the side of Heretics. Void Staff just gains a lot of value getting it early.
And the gold lead that Heretics had for a lot of this early game was in the top lane. Now Adam has actually taken a lead for himself. There's about 230 gold for Flackett over Patrick, but nothing too monumental. It does extend to 400 as Heretics take their first tower of the game. Rogue also only one Drake away from Cloud Soul, Betty. Drake's taken on average a lot quicker now than they used to be. It's not something you can just leave for a while. So obviously you're looking for those feats.
Patrick looking to secure his Rage Blade. I wonder if this camp will be enough. It looks like that he's walking towards the Raptors to just get that small injection of gold. He's very, very close. The Dragon, it says it's available, but it is not.
It's a little while away. Artican, though, is up in 10 seconds. We saw Rogue put a little bit of vision in towards that blue side jungle. Heretics cleaning it out now. These Stend is. And it is Voracious Artican. They have two of them. One of them is colored black, one of them is colored red. The Ruinous is black and the Voracious is red. Hungry for more blood. There's obviously not too much of it has been spilled, apart from creeps. We don't actually even know if they bleed, Veddy. I've never really done a physiology of creep seminar.
Voracious attacks are also very punishing to melee users in particular. So if you are in close range, you really can just shred through your HP bars. And also his aggro bar is like, it's very large. Like he can just walk into lane.
Got a lot of patience. He's got a lot of patience.
The patience bar is very scary for sure. So you've got to be careful about picking a fight around this objective. You can see the vision investment towards the top side of the map from Heretics, cleansing out what Rogue can actually see on the map as bot lane getting pushed in as well. And I'm going to be forced to catch that wave.
And what you're seeing here is the turn-based combat element of League of Legends, right? We saw Rogue push in towards the blue side jungle, put some vision down. Sten came back, cleared it out. Rogue then had to reset to renew their vision and to get the Ginsus on Patrick. So Heretics used that time to put some vision in, and now Rogue have the opportunity to make the play. And what they're trying to do is make the play around mid lane. Sheo gets chunked out a little bit, and I think because of that...
Carlson.
Oh, you're just going to face check Carlson? He is! Execute goes in immediately. Chain of Corruption there for the follow-up. The CC on Carlson is absolutely massive, but he's still Cassante, and of course, he still survives.
We were so close to getting a little bit more blood on the map. Stend now looking for a flank. He has a great angle sitting in the fog of war. If he can get on top of Patrick, there's an angle. Carlson has the TP.
Drake about to spawn as well. It just comes up. Rogue are looking for this. Rift Herald is going to be placed in the mid lane. Sten's still on that flank position. Carlson TP's back into the fight. 8,000 on the Drake. Sten goes in, but Execute with a great knockback immediately disengages Stend. However, Larson's being chased out by that Chaos Storm. Execute on the front line, knocked back into Heretics. They find their second of the game, and Rogue are walking away wounded. Malrang still looking for the steal. If he can get in, almost gets there in time to steal it. Carson with the knockback. Sten looking for the flank once again. Adam having to flash away. Sten decides not to dive any further into the midst of Rogue.
Sten's engage gets completely shut down by Execute, and honestly, I thought that he was doing so much in this fight, setting up his team, providing the space needed for them to disengage, but then the re-engage just never came through from Rogue. They couldn't find good footing in the fight to be able to actually go on the aggressive against Heretics. It means that Heretics forced them out, they get themselves another kill, and they will deny the soul away from Rogue. They've also been able to mount about a 2.5k gold lead right now, a lot of that sitting on Sheo. And Heretics looking confident here in their first game of the split.
23 minutes in, 2-0 up, as you say, have that gold lead. They will now gain control of their blue side jungle. Execute looking for a little bit of vision for himself. Isn't running the Hex Flash on the Alistar here, so he's really lost one of his key engage tools there by the flash being burnt. Doesn't even have his first item yet. Going up towards what I expect to be a Locket of the Iron Solari. Zeke's complete for Sten. It's so powerful on Rel because you're jumping in and getting this big AoE anyway. The Zeke's just giving you so much more power as a support, or giving your teammates more power, which tends to be how supports give things power. They don't like it when we have our own power. We tend to be a little bit overpowered in those cases.
Rooker now completed for Sheo. Larsen's going to have a lot of difficulty impacting these fights. Patrick.
Flacket still has cleanse here. Chenkov comes out. Flacket will burn the cleanse in the end. Glacial Prison going down as well as Adam is the one to tank it. Sten looking for the engage. TP across. He's the little ball that could, but when you have so much pre-warning that Camilo is coming in, it's a pretty easy situation for Rogue to disengage.
But I think it's valuable anyway because Flacket needs to base. They replace one wave clear for another. He can get the push in mid knowing that Rogue has to play defensively. Meanwhile, Larsen looking to push in top wave, knowing that that's a safe space for him now. But the collapse is starting to come through. He's going to be forced to back off. He can't afford to overstay. He's going to be able to grab this wave and then look to back, which means the Flack is now going to go and catch top. Again, nothing too crazy happening there, just a constant exchange back and forth. You can see what I would say a bit of hesitancy from both sides. First game of the split, some of the nerves potentially coming
from Rogue?
I mean, more so from Malrang, I would say. Normally I expect this type of player to be flashing in, looking for those flanks. I will say he's typically very good at that on things like the Jarvan, as you already commented on in the past. When he does play these Maokai-style champs, it's very much about providing the utility. The ultimate is creating a lot of space for his team. Now, Baron is going to be alive, and I mean, it's definitely a slower one. I was expecting more action around the Atakan. I was definitely expecting these teams.
Play, Betty. We should, like, ever hoping for pro play to be bloody is a fool's errand at times.
I mean, we still got more games. I mean, Vitality, I feel like I can expect bloody from
That's true, that is true. But Heretics setting up towards the top side. They are looking to basically domino from Atakan into Baron.
That would be a great combo. Get the GA straight into a Baron.
Just take the fight, because as soon as you have the GA, you're in such a strong position for the next fight. Even if you don't kill the enemy, you get them low, you have teleports. At least one at the moment on Carlson. They'll take the top tier 1. This allows them to push through top a little bit easier. You can see they're working on getting vision in the funnel points that Rogue would have to go through to get to Atakan, one in the tri-bush, and then by pushing the wave up, their minions give them vision as well. Rogue controlling mid lane right now, but also very happy just to accept the wave a little bit deeper, make sure that tower doesn't fall, and allow time for Flacket and Sten to get back out onto the map. No one's been bopped in an absolute age. I saw Carlson and Adam walk down there once, and now they're just like, nah, let the creeps kill each other. We don't actually have to be pushing that out too effectively. Carlson could path down there now, but instead, it's back to the mid lane.
Cloud going to be spawning in about a minute's time. Heretics already looking to set up for that objective as Rogue reclaim vision around the top side of the map.
It's one of the benefits of having the 3 early Drakes, is Rogue can say, yeah, you take your time setting up around the Drake. We're actually never going to fight that. We're just going to set up around this top side and look for the double bubble of Atakan and Baron.
It's definitely true. The advantage of having that soul, as you highlight, means that it puts that extra pressure. Heretics constantly feel like they need to contest the dragon, but in order to do so, they have to sacrifice control over the top side of the map, and their vision has been stifled. There is still a ward in the pit, dropped by Carlson there. And Heretics doing what they can to kind of, I guess, spread their vision thin a little bit. They've got a bit of access into the top side river. They've sweeped out the bottom side knowing that it's clear. They have a bit of push on the bot wave as well. The fight for the mid lane control is still in effect as Flacket gets that push through. And now I do think that Rogue, the better player, as you rightly said, is just move towards Atakan. Yeah. The threat of it, I think, is very real. It doesn't, I mean, it does take a while to kill, but I wouldn't say that at this point in the game is particularly slow for the side of Rogue, especially with an on-hit Varus.
And even Garen does a surprising amount of damage with the Stride Breaker, just spinning on top of those objectives. One of the issues for Heretics is they don't have someone they can, like if the jungler was a Wukong or something, you could just send him to the Drake, say, hey, start that up, see if you can take it by yourself, and then the rest of Heretics can force Rogue off the top side. But they really need everyone there if they're going to manage that force. Right now it is Flackhead who is going to start that Drake, but you're down an AD carry in what could be the subsequent fight. Could also not be the fight. Rogue could just not force anything. Oh, Adam started it.
I mean, Flackhead's on the dragon. This is a great timing to start it. I love the decision here from Rogue.
Remember, if they get this voracious Atakan, they then get a false life, basically a fake GA. Carlson's coming around the corner. He's going to check it, but he doesn't have Smite, and Malrang does. Voracious Atakan picked up for Rogue. Now they have that GA. If they are killed, they give 100 gold and a petal over to Heretics, but they immediately zoom back to the fountain and then just come back to life.
Force the Baron. No TP available for Larsen, so if he does fall, it's going to take longer for him to get back into the fight, but Adam can do a lot of damage.
Adam TPing down towards the bottom side of the river. Sten trying to step forward. Patrick tanking a couple of shots from the Baron there, down to about half HP. Carlson looking for the engage. Adam chasing, Flackhead out. Carlson has to back away. Execute goes in. Chain of Corruption's going to land on Carlson, and immediately he's knocked back. Execute lives up to his name and takes one. Adam's going to withdraw with that GA, but Flackhead's low as well, and Marang's chasing him over the wall. Knocks him back. Patrick takes him. Now Camilo is in for a world of hurt. A shutdown for Patrick as Rogue find 4 kills, and with it, the Baron to boot.
I mean, Rogue make the smart force there, knowing that they have this temporary GA available to them. Just force the fight. They did expend both their TPs, so I was a little worried, but the reality is that the damage that they're able to do, as long as it's enough to force them back, Rogue can come back out onto the map and immediately force another Baron. They end up winning the fights, they end up securing the objective, and now they're in full control of this game.
And they still have about 90 seconds just to do whatever they want with these GAs. They do timeout after 150 seconds total.
We look at Adam zooming towards Flackhead on the backline, forcing the flash out from him immediately. Meanwhile, Shutdown comes into Carlson in the river where he's focused, and again, it's very much this front to back until Zeri is caught off on the backline, and they're able to shut him down. Ultimately, nice fight, well executed, front to back played well. Adam doing what he needed to do in the fight. And again, he's just immediately back out onto the map. They still have that temporary GA.
And now about a quarter left on that false life. They'll push in with the Baron buff as well. Can play across 2 different lanes. Carlson just trying to stay out of range of Rogue here, but that's another tower going over to them. The gold lead extends 2.9k ahead now. All of that off the back of this Baron. Only a cannon minion in the mid lane, and the next set of waves are quite a long way away, at least in mid and in bot. So top really the only point of focus now for Rogue. They do have the Nature's Grasp from Malrang. They want to try and force Heretics off, and that's exactly what he'll use, as Heretics have to back away. Show is caught up, but that tower very quickly falling to Patrick and Larson. The tier 3 falls in the top lane. Adam's going to get the wave in mid as well to take out the tier 2 there.
Easy setup from the side of Rogue. Constant pressure being used, good utilization of the ultimates. And now the base, now that it's been cracked, makes it much easier for Rogue to continue their siege. They've still got plenty of time left on the Baron. Over a minute still remaining. Reset's going to come through quickly back out onto the map. They're setting their sights on both the mid and bot side. Marang's ultimate is going to be available very soon. They're going to hand the blue buff over to the rest of the team. And Heretics are forced to be on the defensive. A single fight could very much change things around. If Flackhead can have the freedom to unlock himself, then there's ways in which they can turn it around. The problem that he's going to run into is that Adam, he's just constantly looking for that backline threat, and he's going to make it difficult for Flackhead to really involve himself in the fight. Meanwhile, the rest of Rogue is going to look to just play that traditional front to back, focus down whoever the target is in front of them, and usually Rogue is just going to win out because they don't have enough peel to protect Flackhead.
And it's hard for Heretics to catch the backline as well. You've got Swift March on Adam, you've got Swift March on Patrick. Both of them have that extra movement speed. Larson's upgraded his boots as well into whatever the Sorky upgrades were. Spellslinger's shoes. So they have all of this extra movement speed alongside extra stats coming out of it. You know, extra magic penetration on the Spellslingers. Rabadon's on its way for Larson. He must be very close to completing that in terms of gold, as Rogue now get their 7th turret of the game with about 30 seconds left before the Drake spawns. They will turn their eyes towards it, and you look at it, the Voracious Ardakan went Ardakan, Baron, crack open the base, take another tower, and now into Soul. This is, the last 5 minutes have been absolutely sublime for Rogue.
Yep. It looks like they're still taking their time.
Yeah.
So
not quite Soul yet. I didn't have the timer for the Drake. I just assumed it was about 30 seconds, and it looks like it is, but they had a little bit more time than I thought.
It's soon, is what I can tell you. In fact, I might be able to tell you it's about 30 seconds.
Oh, nice.
Rogue are going to keep the pressure on bot lane. They've pushed another wave in mid. The TP is now available for Larson, which means that he can go back to base and TP back into the fight, which is exactly what he's going to do right now. Has that death cap completed, and this Orianna is very, very strong. Problem for Heretics as well is finding access into this brush is a very difficult thing to do. Face checking Adam is incredibly dangerous. Look at the position of Malrang.
Malrang is in prime position here. Immediately jumps onto Camilo. They're going to knock him back as well. And even with the crash down, Camilo falls to Demacian Justice. Patrick pulls off from the Drake. Chain of Corruption just going wide, but already the jungler from Heretics is down. And can they find anything out of this fight? Flackhead unable to really get in there. Malrang is down to a 3rd HP, but he'll heal up off the Drake. That will be Soul for Rogue.
A fantastic flank there from Maurang, lying in wait, one with the bushes, and is able to lock down Kamilu. Team Heretics are forced to retreat through their bot lane. There's no real waves that Rogue have the ability to play off of right now, so they're going to look to reset after securing that soul. But poor Victor. He had no way of getting out. He did really good damage, all things considered. But as you rightly said, the Demacian Justice finding its way into the heart of Victor. And it means that Rogue found themselves another kill and the soul to boot.
Do you ever find it interesting that Adam's signature champions are kind of on other sides of a war? Yeah, but like Darius, he's the gods guy, right? Darius and Garen, both of them fighting against each other. Maybe we'll see some Garen.
And how does Olaf fit into that?
He fights for the Freyord, right?
I don't know his lore, actually.
Probably fights for the Freyord.
I know he's angry.
We can make it up, Veddy. No one's going to look it up. There's no TB Skyen or Necrit out there reviewing our cast, being like, actually, Veddy said that Olaf fights for the Freyord.
Just want to clarify, I didn't say that. Medic said that.
Yeah, but if I say that you say it, then sometimes people assume that you said it, and then I get out of jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Baron in 40 seconds means that with the objective control set up by Rogue, they are definitely doing this by the book, really taking their time, making sure that they don't leave any holes open for Heretics to exploit. Adam going to move back towards the bot side of the map, going to keep the pressure up. And Heretics doing really the only option that they can do, which is pushing through mid lane, looking to get control. But Adam on the flank.
Maurang as well, looking for that Nature's Grasp. Immediately they jump to Carlson. Look how far away Kamilu is from this fight. Now he can start to walk back, but already his top laner has been removed from the map. And Heretics just can't find a way to disengage when Rogue decide to run at them. Sten still looking for that engage, has the Magnet Storm. Sheo has the Glacial Prison. They don't have a jungler for 40 seconds. The Baron has been started by Rogue. It's Maurang and Patrick who are going to do it for now. Heretics, you just can't step in. Adam, Larson, and Execute, good enough to be bouncers here. Sten's still looking for that flank, but even though you get the stun and the crash down, Adam just spins away from it, play baiting his way to victory. Execute goes back in with his ultimate, and extra tankiness enough to get Rogue out with the Baron. Sten still looking for that flank. Flakked, you know, you could dive over the wall here. You hear the voices telling him to go. Sten went in, he'll dash back out as Heretics call off the engage.
They get the Baron, which is exactly what they were looking for. A nice pick onto Carlson means that with the numbers advantage, it's very difficult for Heretics to contest the objective. And they did what they could. They threw out what utility they had, but they're throwing it into Execute, they're throwing it into Adam. They didn't even really get close to the Baron. And it ends up being a one-sided affair. Elder is going to be spawning in about 3 minutes. Rogue shouldn't need it to close out the game. But notice here, Kamilu, he gets completely zoned out of the fight thanks to Maurang's ultimate. Maurang doesn't overcommit, he just forces him away, knowing that he can guarantee a numbers advantage. The Varus ultimate as well, forcing Heretics immediately to split apart, completely isolates Carlson, and makes it very easy to find that pick without any response from Heretics.
Because Heretics were just trying to get the push through mid, they weren't quite lined up, so you couldn't have someone like Sten tank up the Nature's Grasp and then have any follow-up from the rest of the team. And now Rogue will use this Baron buff to push through bot. 2 minutes on it, as you say, 2.5 minutes on the Elder, but even though it's Rogue, they should be able to win with the Baron. They do like their slower games, as we have seen so far here. Signs pointing to a similar style to last year, although a victory to kick things off still good for Rogue, and they still have a long year ahead of them to continue to invent and challenge perceptions from last year of them. Glacial Prison goes on to Patrick immediately, he cleanses it away. There's a wave pushing in mid. Top wave not quite in the right position for Rogue right now, still too far away from that inhibitor to do too much. Flakked trying to clear the wave out, but Adam just raises the tower. It's a bulldozer in a previous life, it seems, as Rogue continued to step forward. Heretics 5v4 right now, but the threat of Adam just spinning towards their backline if they ever look for the engage, ever looming.
I feel like Rogue is way more cautious than they need to be. I guess they're relying on the fact that Adam can't be dealt with, so they're just allowing him to split push and pick away at these inhibitors. They've still got 45 seconds left on the Baron. I feel like they can just force a fight whenever they want.
But they don't need to is the important thing. They can just wait for Adam to take top in him, to take mid
in
him. Execute, stepping forward, looking for Shale, already down to half HP. Patrick going forward as well. Execute, lands a 3-man knockup into the shockwave. And that's what they were waiting for. Rogue finds 2 immediately. Carlson walking back to the fountain, just trying to get himself healed up. Execute, still alive somehow. Double inhibs down. Maurang flashes in with the engage. And Flakked goes pop. TP coming back in from Adam, back to full HP. And Rogue might not need the 3 inhibs to win the game. Adam chases in. Camilo has no escape. Carlson, the last man standing. And it looks like Rogue are going to open up their account with a big fat W here as they take down Heretics in the first game of LEC Winter.
Slow, steady, and methodical play there from Rogue. A very even affair until